You're watching Beyond Market. Welcome, I'm Esther Awuni. Many thanks for joining us. On the show today, we'll look at the man in the mirror as we explore how the media impacts society. We'll discuss social media, fake news, and gatekeeping ahead of Nigeria's 2019 elections. As always, you can join the conversation with the hashtag Beyond Market, and you can follow my Twitter handle too, at Esther Ubudaga. Now, while social media has many advantages, sometimes getting real-time news to help everyday citizens make informed decisions may come at a cost when the information is distorted from source to drive propaganda and influence political views. Now, on today's show, we'll look at how the media is impacting society with a focus on social media, fake news, and the role of gatekeepers. Well, today my guests are Tony Bakare. He's an online editor at the Guardian newspapers, and Francis Jakpo, Program Manager, Election Fact-Checking Project at the Paradigm Initiative. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. We're looking at an interesting topic, one that is interesting, but the impact has been, it's just amazing. So let's start with social media. Today we're looking at social media, fake news, gatekeeping, of course, ahead of the 2019 elections. Let's start with social media. Now, the minute social media became a part of our lives, we all just run with it, at least most of us. I know that we all have, either it's Twitter or Instagram and the rest of it. Yeah. And now it's not just for sharing pictures like, Facebook, when Facebook first came out, it's gone beyond just sharing pictures. It's now shaping people's opinions and choices in critical issues such as even politics. I want to hear your opinion. Francis, let me start with you. How social media has taken root in Nigeria and how it's now affecting all facets of our life, especially the important aspect of our lives when it comes to things like voting now. Yeah.
Okay, so social media, Nigeria was late catching up with the trend, and when we started out at first, it was just, like a personal, people saw it as a personal avenue to share stories, to share photos and everything, but it's gone beyond that now. We know there are so many selfish interests, especially we're talking about politicians now, especially during election season like this. They know that people believe a lot of what they see on the social media. It could be pictures, it could be photos, it could be textual material. They believe that everything there is gospel. They don't go through the second line fact checking to ensure that what they see is actually what it actually means. You understand? So the fear is that people are going to be making decisions that are not so informed. They are going to be believing everything that they see, thinking that it's true, and they're going to take critical decisions like that. Security-wise, for instance, we saw what happened last year when rumor was rife that the military, they're about to inject school-age children in the southeast with smallpox, with monkeypox rather. Before we realized what was happening, people were withdrawing their children from schools without realizing that it was just a trick, because that whole fiasco, it followed the Anambra elections. So a particular section of the populace felt that they needed to let that out to misinform people so that they will feel that the government is not doing its job. So that's how social media can shape opinion. We all know how the U.S. elections played out as well. Yeah. Donald Trump at some point he retweeted a post where it was stepping on the CNN logo. Now, right after that, we saw a young man, Brian, who went out to Atlanta and he threatened to gun down CNN staff. Just because he saw that old bloody CNN logo. So things like that are what social media can do, which people don't realize. You don't share before you click the button. You have to ensure that you fact check what you find there. Yeah,
Tony, your thoughts. I mean, there are obviously good sides to social media, but these days it would appear that there's more of a negative to it than the positive. Share your thoughts on social media and how it's taken root here.
I think it is not even about you sharing what you've seen. It's about you making sure that whatever you want to post initially is true. And I make sure that what I'm putting out isn't something that will sway people's opinion because I want their opinions to be swayed. Now, first things first, what you have heard from someone that you want to share, the pictures that you've got from someone that you want to share, the videos, all of those things, have you gone beyond just receiving? Have you done thorough fact-checking? Anybody can say to you anything. Pictures can be doctored. Videos can be doctored. So when you get those things, you want to be sure that before you put them out, before you publish as a journalist, you want to say, can I have a second opinion on this? Where did this happen? Who are the witnesses? Who are the persons behind this video that you saw? Who shot it? If you can get who shot it, if you can get video, picture credit, and all of those things, you make sure that You can track the information behind the contents that
But
you want to.
you know, we live in an age where even for journalists, where I mean, sensational headlines, you know, are all the rave as it were, and there's that temptation to fall into it to get the juiciest headlines.
Now, that's
and
where your job as a gatekeeper, as a digital publisher, comes in. You don't go with the crowd. You don't do things because everybody does it. I must say this. Some of those who publish on websites are not properly trained. So if you have a training behind you, you have a name to protect, you have an organization that has done well over the years, you want to shy away from sensationalism. You want to stick to the facts.
would you say, Francis, that thought is prevalent within the industry, the need to fact check, the need to protect, of course, keeping in mind reputational damage if you fall for it, might not even have generated from your own media house. You saw it online and you're like, oh wow, and then you scooped it up, and of course you were time bound. You had to put in the story before 5 p.m. or something, and then you just put it out there, and then
In most newsrooms, there's a lot of pressure. You understand? While the traditional news person is always very ethical and everything, but at the same time, some people there are a lot of threats hanging in the air. For instance, if you are in a newsroom and another publication puts out the news before you, sometimes you get queries. So in the process, a lot of fact-checking time is lost. We saw what happened with this Mietiala case, where Danladi Chiroma was quoted as saying this and that. But finally we realized that he denied it. You understand? There was no evidence. There was no hard evidence either from Premium Times or The Nation to back up the claim that he was the one who said that. So that was lost in the process because there was the rush to meet deadlines to put out the story first. If
you are writing for print, you might probably have that time to go back and forth with whoever is giving you certain information. You want to double check because, it's still going to imprint tomorrow morning. I still have like 2 hours or 3 hours to make sure I meet with the deadlines my editor has given me. But you are writing for a website, you need to be immediate. But what I tell my team is this: I don't mind playing second fiddle. If anybody is going to break the news, let them go ahead. But I want to double check. If I get an information that I don't have a direct link to, I make sure I call people who have better connection to that particular story to make sure that whatever information I'm going to be putting out on the website is true.
You see, that is for your own media organization. So my question is,
how
many media houses? I mean, you interact with journalists every day. I'm just wondering, how many media houses will hold that,
the truth is that look at the mainstream media houses that are websites. We are not much, but bloggers are more than the mainstream media houses. Now you can call a meeting of all the mainstream media houses. Okay, sit down. Let's do this the right way. But how many of us can call bloggers to say, okay, sit down. This is what we do. We are guided by different set of ethics.
But, the issue of regulation came up at some point where the Nigerian lawmakers moved to, sanction, as it were.
They went about that in a bad way. I must say that. See, you can't regulate social media in a way. You have to start saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. Maybe the outcome of whatever they've done can be punished.
If you can find the person.
If you can find the person. You can always track whoever put something out. See, even websites, fake website, you can track whoever is registered fake websites. Unfortunately, not everybody knows how to check, to fact check URLs that are fake or people behind fake URLs. But the truth is that when you want to regulate something and you have genuine cause to want to regulate it, you must do a thorough awareness campaign before you start implementing or before you want to go ahead to implement laws. Well, so if you know that social media has become injurious to corporate assistance of Nigeria, for instance, and you want to make sure that people do things the right way, have you told them why you need to do it? You don't just go about the law in the first place.
Okay. But I think I'll take exception to that because it's a free world, really. Which is why Paradigm Initiative, we've been funding for the digital rights and freedom bill. You understand? Online, people should be the freedom of people to their expressions should be respected in real life just as much as social media. So you can't really regulate it as such.
So where do you now, Francis? Let me finish with Francis. So where do you now draw the line where you have so much information that's injurious, that's shaping, basically misinforming people, and that takes us to fake news now. Yeah.
That's
literally made up.
Yeah, that's where fact-checking sites come in. Here in Nigeria, for instance, we are in partnership with jubawa.org. It's a fact-checking website. So they go behind the stories to fact-check what exactly is put out there. So
what stories? How many stories?
Yeah, any kind of story, especially those that have, in terms of this project we are doing, those that have bearing on the elections, you understand, and those that can shape opinions, especially strong opinions. That
so if you see a story come up anywhere, either on Twitter, Instagram,
Instagram, everywhere, they do it. You know, even in US elections, sites like PolitiFact, Snopes, you know, factcheck.org, you know, they all came on board just to ensure that people double-check whatever they find on the social media before they start spewing it out. So rather than regulate the rights of people on the digital platforms, ensure that there are enough fact-checking sites so that people can go there and double-check whatever they find to ensure that it's true.
You know, one question that has gone through my mind, Tonya, is how easily people scoop up fake news. I mean, you see the headline or you see the story, you read the story, and at some point you realize how ridiculous it is. But, you know, do you think that to a large extent it spreads more because many times these stories are sent to us by family and friends, and because they're coming from family, we think that there's some truth to it?
It's not necessarily because they are spread to us by our family. I think it's because sometimes what we see, what we believe, aligns with our ideology as a person. So if, for instance, you're anti-government and somebody has sent something to you that is against the government, you want to believe that immediately. You don't even want to fast-check. Yeah. But if you are sensible enough, even if you're anti-government, you want to say, oh, this sounds too sensational, so let me check. Though I don't like this government, I want to make sure that whatever information I'm also going to be sharing with people. So
there's it's like a confirmation bias. You want it to be true.
It's a confirmation bias. You just want it to be true. Say, for instance, people want to believe certain things about you. And, oh, I don't like her. And somebody now comes, oh, she did this negative thing, and you know, I knew it right from the beginning. So the bias conditions what we believe. And if you don't deal with your bias as a person, you can believe anything anybody tells you.
Okay, gentlemen, hold that thought for us. We'll take a short break. Well, thank you for your time so far. We'll come back and pick up from where we left off. I've been speaking to Tonya Bakare, online editor, Guardian Newspapers, and Francis Jakpo, Program Manager, Election Fact-Checking Project, Paradigm Initiative. We're looking at, of course, a range of issues of social media, fake news, and gatekeeping ahead of the 2019 presidential elections here in Nigeria. We'll be right back after this short break. Okay, so if you're just joining us, we're discussing how the media impacts society. Well, still with me in the studio is Tonya Bakare, online editor, Guardian Newspapers, and Francis Jakpo, Program Manager, Election Fact-Checking Project, Paradigm Initiative. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time so far.
Thank you.
Now, of course, we've been talking about the 2019 elections. We're just a couple of months away, and of course, social media is already agog with what's going on in the political space. You know, the main opposition, the main ruling party with the opposition parties, and all that's going on. And once again, we are going to see social media also take the fore in terms of how people are going to be discussing the candidates or the event and all that's happening. And we still have fake news in the mix. And so I suppose we can say we should expect fake news also to play a huge part, just like we saw it do in the U.S. presidential election. So what are your expectations? Francis, let me start with you, how it's going to pan out and how let's start with that.
How it's going to pan out? In what sense?
2019 elections, how fake news and so how we're going to see fake news and social media, helped by social media, impact the elections.
We've already started seeing it. Just this morning I woke up and I saw threads talking about Zamfara, how 41 people were killed. Some people were backtracking it again, they were backgrounding it against what happened last week. Number of people killed in Plateau State. So,
making it look like it was the same guys that did it.
Looking like it's a setup and a particular party is trying to rubbish the government. You know, so those things are really going to notch up in the run-up to the 2019 elections around security, around corruption, around the economy. So, which is why we really have to ensure that we're responsible as individuals, just like Tonya said. It's besides the fact that there's a lot of gatekeeping involved, it's a personal choice as well. We have to ensure that whatever we put out is factual. You understand? Politicians, as we know them to be, they are going to be whipping up sentiments like that. Whatever negative occurs, they are just going to try to frame it against the backdrop of a particular party not performing or a particular party doing this and doing that. So our own beat in that sense is to ensure that before we share, we fact check.
How many, still on you, Francis, I mean, what you're doing, obviously fact-checking, but how many of your organizations are out there or will be out there active to ensure that, there is proper fact-checking and people do not get swayed? Because, our political scene and elections can be quite sensitive and can go south if we're not careful. And it's very important that the right kind of information is out there. So I'm just thinking, we're talking earlier just before we came on how some of the fake news sites are more popular than the fact-checking sites. I mean, how do you get around that? Yeah,
just like I said, we're in partnership with Jubawa, and we're doing a lot of public education. Further up the line, we're going to even have, a parley with politicians. Okay, so we're going to educate them on the impact that some of the decisions that they make and some of the posts that they share on social media can influence, people, shape mindsets and everything. Oftentimes negatively. Okay, we are going around media houses, educating them as well to ensure that there's a second line and possibly third line oversight before they put out new stories. Okay, so we are just doing a lot of publicity around it.
Tonya, do you think that the average Nigerian who's active on social media and reads, news, consumes news online, is aware of the fact that they can fall victim to fake news and that there is that need to perhaps sometimes do some fact checking?
Unfortunately, that's not the way it goes. Remember, I mentioned something about bias. If something speaks to your ideology, you are quick to share, you are quick to like. But the thing that we need to focus on is about what we need to tell people who come to our sites to read, or those who go to fake news websites to read certain things. How are they going to be able to read from the sharp? For instance, in 2017, early 2017, rumors went around town that President Buhari died in the UK. And you look at the websites carrying this news, metro-uk.com. And
some credible
names. Credible
well.
Names. Clone Metro UK, clone Huffington Post, cloned ABC News and all of that. Now, when I saw those things, I felt, wait, the URLs are fishy. If you know that these URLs are fishy, why would you not go ahead to even spread this thing? So the issue is not even about those who go to social media, those who use social media or go to a website to do certain things, being able to fact check. It's about them not spreading what they don't even know to be true.
For the 2019 elections, now what are your concerns?
My concern,
how social media fake news is all going to play into the elections?
Francis already mirrored my concern. My concern basically there'll be a lot of lies, outright lies, not even fake news, outright lies by politicians. And these lies will be directed at oppositions and the ruling party. Both sides of the fight will do as much damage as they want to do.
Now, apart from the politicians themselves, who do their thing, individuals who just wake up one morning and just literally...
Politicians won't go to social media to do these things.
Make up a story.
They won't go to social media to lie because they don't want to be tied to their lies. They want to use their foot soldiers. And these are ordinary people who will go sit back behind their keyboards and type rubbish. So it now builds you as an individual, like I said earlier, to double-check what information you've been given. So if somebody tells you this man has done something, he's not worthy of being re-elected, you want to check with yourself what you've been told. Is it true or not? But because I've been paid or you've been paid to do certain things, you don't just care about what's going to happen. Like I said earlier, we know the beginning of the lies that we are going to tell on social media. We know the beginning of the fake news we are going to be spreading.
Okay, so is there like a body of, I don't know if it, to use what association, is that like possible for a body of journalists, does that happen, coming together to say, okay, we know that this is a problem, we are going to discuss this, and because we have elections coming, these are the things we're going to do as gatekeepers to ensure, at least to minimize the damage, because obviously this cannot be totally eradicated, at least minimize the impact it will have on shaping people's opinions and choices.
We discuss all the time. All the online editors that I know, we have a WhatsApp group and we share thoughts on what goes on in the country. Our concern basically is fake news on social media, and we know that it's going to become bigger and bigger.
So you feel totally helpless?
No, we don't. That's the point. We don't. Now, like I mentioned earlier, that I don't mind playing second fiddle, and we also told ourselves, I think we had this sort of discussion last week. We said, make sure you double check whatever you have. So like Francis said, fact-checking becomes one of the imperative things that we need to do. If you know that whatever you've been given is fishy,
Okay.
double check.
Okay.
If you can't trust the second source that you have, keep it.
I guess awareness is a key
Let me just
part of
mention real
this.
quick that since you mentioned body of journalists, the Dubawa initiative, it's tied to Premium Times, Center for Investigative Journalism. So, and it's supported by the MacArthur Foundation. So it's not just a regular blog. It's something that it was launched back in February. So it was launched in anticipation of the elections that there will be a lot of fake news. So what we have in the pipeline is to educate bloggers. We're going to have a panel with bloggers and ensure that we can't convince everybody, but we can try as much as possible to convince many people. So when that cascades and everybody realizes that fact-checking has become the norm, I think it's going to be taking a lot more serious.
And I think INEC and political parties and security agencies have responsibilities to also educate voters. See, it's not about voter education alone. It's about telling them that information that you share on social media, information that you share on WhatsApp and every other means could be injurious to even their own existence. It's not even about, you see, when it becomes chaotic, the big guys will fly out of Nigeria. Do you have the means to make sure you escape the chaos that will come after everything has been done? So INEC has a responsibility to say, see, watch out for whatever you're going to be sharing on social media. INEC can also fall victim. All the political parties can fall victim. All the candidates can fall victim. So everybody has a part. We also, as media houses, also have responsibility to make sure that we constantly put out the truth and also educate those who come to our website to read.
Okay. So, beyond this, I mean, 2019 elections, just looking at the whole scenario, social media and how we consume news these days, especially online. As journalists, when you look into the future, how people are going to consume news, because obviously online reading, online news dissemination is all here to stay. And it's becoming even easier now to pick up your phone than to pick up a newspaper to read news. So it looks like online, and that's the future of news. And so how do you see it, Francis, how do you see it shaping journalism, how we consume news in the future, and how the role that even fake news, if we don't curb it now, could play?
It's going to be topsy-turvy. If, like I said, it has come to say, we have a responsibility to now to track fake news. First of all, you have to realize that fake news, the headlines are typically shouty, and they are not objective. They are meant to capture your attention. Screaming headlines with exclamation marks. Grammatical errors are there, okay? Most of the time, fake news, you don't find attributions. If you want to put out news, for instance, in journalism, the rule is you have to have two sources. Or maybe at least one, but most of these fake news sites, they don't put out authoritative sources. So if you are trying to claim that something happened and there's no source to back it up, it's a red flag, okay? Most of the time, some of these fake news, they are only one source information, which means that if you find it on a particular website, you probably don't find it elsewhere. Because some other sites have probably checked it out and realized that it's false. So it stays there.
Okay.
Then other times, it might even have a viral effect, but have you checked the traditional news sites like Guardian, Vanguard, Online, and the rest of them? Because they'll typically double-check before they post on their own sites.
What about issues such as, trolling? We know that also happens a lot. I mean, how do we address that? It's a free word. Like
it's a free word. It's a free word. Like I said, take a pin or a blade. Use it to cut yourself. If you bleed, do you want to use it on somebody else? So if you want to go on social media and troll people, or you want to say stupid things about people, think of how you will feel when people say the same thing about you. So at the end of the day, I always believe that it's not the technology that we use, it's how we use technology. Do you want to go to social media and be known as a professional troll, or you want to go to social media as somebody
I suppose we live in a world where some people actually do not care about how you see them, or when they do that, what your opinion is. So, and I'm just thinking to myself now, going forward, the future of journalism. What do you see?
I see a situation where social media becomes more important, and also, of course, the consumption of news won't be limited to social media alone. There are other innovations coming up that we are looking at, and we also look at how we can adapt those things to what we do, and making sure that the audience that we serve get the right information at the right time. as much as possible, we block out all the extra noise that we be inimical to what we do.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
I've been speaking to Tonye Bakare, online editor, Guardian Newspapers, and Francis Japo, program manager, election fact-checking project, Paradigm Initiative. Well, that's it on Beyond Markets. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Remember, you can watch all previous episodes of the show on our website at cnbcafrica.com. You can also stay engaged with the hashtag Beyond Markets, and you can follow my Twitter handle too at Esther Ubodaga. I'm Esther Awuni. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.